function, F11. There we go, awesome. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. So I'm going to talk about this stuff. But first, 1 in 400 quadrillion. That is the statistical probability of you being born you. So that's to your parents with your DNA at that time of day or night, as it probably was. 1 in 400 quadrillion. Now, what's the point of that? I think that kind of just goes to show that every single one of us in the room is a snowflake, and that we have great diversity and we all think differently and have different ideas, and that's why the CNCF page is so full of different projects. It's why there are so many different programming languages, because the one that was brilliant for one person had something that didn't quite work for the other, so someone had to create a new language. And it's a little bit why we have so many different clouds. See the connection. But I'm not here today to talk to you about our scientific probabilities of life on Earth. I'm here to talk to you about clouds. So first, introductions. So my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am mum to an angel and a rainbow, and just like the first family of New Zealand, I work full-time, and my husband stays at home and raises our son. So as said, my day job is I'm a specialist solution architect, and my specialist subjects are containers and application development. I have a programming background, and on my dress I am wearing my 4th programming language. It was the 2nd I did professionally, so I do have some little bits of swag. If anyone knows what it is, they can get some. And the other catch is, if you can count how many different clouds or cloud strategies I talk about in my presentation, you might get a hug or some swag or something. Right, so this little guy here, interestingly enough, does anyone know why we call it the cloud? So before like AWS and stuff like that, we used to draw this on architecture diagrams just to represent the internet. And in fact, back in 1977, when people like me and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and those people were actually still in primary school, this was used to represent the ARPANET, which was the precursor to the internet, just in case anyone doesn't know. But let's just define what we mean in today's terminology about what is a cloud. Okay, so a pool of virtual resources orchestrated together by management and automation software so that it can be accessed by users on demand through self-service portals supported by automatic scaling, dynamic resource allocation. So this is actually quite important, that it's orchestrated, users get it on demand through self-service portals. And because of all that, kind of the move to the cloud is inevitable. And there's lots of studies that will show that. There's so many stats that say, this CIO is going to do this, and this company is going to plan to go to this cloud, and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of them. You're all doing it. I know every single one of you in the room is doing something with cloud-enabled workloads. Your traditional workloads, some of them are moving. Some of them you're able to break down into microservices. Some of them you might give a cuddle, put on a container platform, and run it in the cloud. Now, traditional workloads, they like to scale up, not scale out. And they rely kind of often on their underlying infrastructure, whereas cloud workloads can go anywhere and often are shared anywhere. And we also find that not everything should run in the cloud, and probably a lot of us are realizing that now, and it's one of the reasons why a hybrid cloud architecture is kind of this next hurdle in cloud architectures because of this. So I'm just going to roll back the time a little bit here and talk about public cloud. The first public cloud was available to everyone in 2006 when AWS released its Elastic Cloud Compute. Now, we know that it's not really in the cloud, it's just stuff running on someone else's servers, and companies had been doing that for a long time by doing things like outsourcing or the bio cloud, or SaaS services or hosting companies, right? And they did that because they wanted economies of scale, they needed elasticity, agility, and also some risk mitigation by having duplicates of things. Now, I tried to get everyone, I think I've got everyone in the room on the map. So AWS was the first and then was followed suit. Actually some years later before the next cloud came on the market. But of course we have several now, Google and Azure and local clouds like Rivera and Catalyst and Datacom and, have I missed one? Oh, IBM Cloud. Oracle Cloud? Oh, I missed Oracle Cloud. But here's the trouble. We started losing some things: control, visibility, sovereignty, not just of your data, but of your stuff in general. Security became concerning. And simply the complexity of your applications that you need to run, yeah, it's a bit harder in a public cloud. So I know, let's have a private cloud. Let's build our own one of those on using something like OpenStack. Awesome. Now we've got lots of choice. Let's do it multi. Let's have multiple clouds. We can use a bit of everything. And, oh, there are some specialist areas of expertise. So now we need to start actually having special clouds, government clouds, telco clouds, hyper clouds, that's super fast ones, health clouds. And yes, one day there will be a galactic cloud. Okay. Now we have all that. Oh, but what about that data center? I've got mainframes there. What am I going to do? And I've got Oracle Rack, and I've got VMware, and all my stuff runs really great on my VMware farm and my Oracle Rack. I need that database. See, Oracle mentioned it. So now we move on to the next hurdle, the hybrid cloud. Let's have the best of all the worlds and be able to run everything together. Yay. Definition, multi-cloud. This is when you're running workloads on many different clouds, but they are all independent, so they are siloed. A hybrid cloud is one where you have multiple clouds again, but there is some orchestration between them. There is some interconnectivity between them, and that's the important differentiation. It's a mix of two or more public and even connection to your own traditional infrastructure. But wait, it's not just really one or the other. You actually can do both of those strategies if you want, because you can really support any one of whatever kind of cloud strategy you've chosen, whether that's cloud first, cloud agnostic, what else have I got there? Cloud specific, cloud panoramic, the last two I made up. If you want to do SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, XaaS, whatever you want. Hybrid now gives you the ability to do all of that, right? And in fact, if we mix all these together, you could say it's more like a polycloud. But let's come back to this hybrid cloud again. We've still got to do all this stuff. It doesn't matter how many clouds I've got. I've still got to think about all of this, and I still need to have all of these economies of scale, my control, my sovereignty, everything. But now I've got a massive amount of opportunity. This hybrid thing is awesome. Please, can I have one? Sorry, you can't just buy one. Is that 1 in 400 quadrillion? Well, you know, your needs and your architecture and what your cloud would look like and what your hybrid setup is going to look like, that's almost just as diverse. Okay. Now, the other thing too is that every single vendor, every one of them, has a hybrid cloud story. Everyone will have something. You go to any website, go ask anyone, we will have a hybrid cloud solution for you. But not a single one of us can do it all. Yeah, it's emerging technology in a lot of places. If you look at things like Kubernetes and you look at, Kubernetes Federation, for example, it's emerging technology. None of us can do it all yet. So what do? How do you get there, right? Which path? Oh, echo. Okay, enough with the pretty pictures. So let's just look at what are some of the things that you need to be thinking about, which is the point of this topic, is with all of that going on and so many choices, how do we build that? Like, what do I have to think about? Now, these are my clouds. I've got my cloud at home, away, and the one on holiday that I use every now and again. My one will be the galactic one, just saying. So every single one of them is going to have some infrastructure. Do I want to put WANs in there to interconnect the physical compute? Is that what my hybrid solution is going to be? I'm going to have data and storage. Am I sharing my data across? Do I need to have, an Oracle rack with some magic interconnections happening? Don't know what that looks like. There's going to be applications that are going to be running, whether these are traditional workloads or whether these are the workloads that are cloud native. How are they going to, is that the layer that I'm going to have hybrid across everywhere? What about services and functions that are offered by different cloud providers? I mentioned before this term being cloud agnostic or cloud specific. So cloud agnostic means that you don't care where your workloads run. They could run on any of those clouds. But cloud specific is where you go, right, AWS, and I'm just making this up, I don't know if this is fact. AWS has the best AI processing. And Azure has the best translation service. So I need to use AI processing in this cloud and Azure process, translation functions over here. So how, each one of them is going to have their, and 1 in 400 quadrillion, they're all going to have their specializations in what they offer you. And then at the top of that, what I love, APIs, right? You're probably going to have APIs connecting into all this. So is that the layer that you orchestrate? Is that the layer that you make hybrid? Who knows, right? You have to think about, thinking about your, I like this one at the top, burstable compute, because if you actually look at most companies, they'll say the reason why they want to do hybrid is they want burstable compute, meaning that they want to just be able to run out to the cloud and run away to that holiday place, get some extra compute and come back again. I'll tell you honestly, of all that I hear, this actually is never the one that gets implemented. It's quite interesting. This isn't actually the one that happens. And one of the reasons for that, it's actually really hard to do. It's quite complicated. But so, elastic compute, your network interconnectivity, all of these layers, and that's why because every vendor has a specialization in one of these layers. And so therefore, they will have a hybrid cloud strategy in that layer. And probably today, you're going to end up with a hybrid cloud. But the considerations that you need at each one of those levels is actually the same. So it doesn't matter which layer that you're looking at. In each one of those, you have to start thinking about abstraction. So if you're connecting a whole bunch of things together, you need some layer of abstraction. Is that a single control plane? Is that, one single API manager? How does that work? You're going to need something. You're going to need automation and portability. If you don't automate this, that big, long pipeline. Can you imagine if you had to deliver that by hand? Because that's what she would have had to done before if she didn't automate it. Now imagine that that's out on many clouds or in a hybrid cloud. Visibility, operational control, scalability, all of these things. And the other one at the bottom there, is it going to be open or closed? Are you going to get an open solution using open standards, or are you going to have a closed proprietary solution? So it starts to look like your path is a little bit more like this, yeah? So I was thinking about this quite a lot, and this is my idea, that, how do you could decide that you go with the vendor that you like the most, or, you go with the vendor who has the most strategic thing in your company, or the one that you visited last week at a conference and like their stuff. How do you work out what to do? So I kind of think you have to flip it on its head. Now, it may be because I have a programming background that I kind of think that thinking from the top down, thinking from the very end user point of view, is the best way. I kind of think that looking at the highest touch point as opposed to the infrastructure underneath, that's kind of where all of the network points going in. If you actually put the layer of abstraction, the layer of visibility at the top, I kind of think that you'll get more value, more bang for your buck out of your hybrid strategy. However, That's just my thinking about it, and I am biased towards programming. But I think it comes back to design thinking and being customer-centric. Now, we talked about AWS being the very first public cloud. I recently watched an interview with Jeff Bezos back in pre-IPO of Amazon, so it was like in the late 90s, and he was talking about whether it was a good idea to invest in Amazon.com. He said, I don't know, but I can tell you this one thing. Whatever we do, we think about customers. What are the customer needs? What is it that they want to do? And so I kind of think you're in the same position now when you're looking at a hybrid cloud strategy. What is it that your customer needs from that? Now, for a lot of people in the room, your customer might be, you may be the IT department, so your customer is the business, but think about the customer's customer. You know, if you're Vero, I'm one of your customers because I get invoices. You know, think about what do they need. So if you don't know what design thinking is, this is a definition of design thinking. So a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of the people and the possibilities of technology and then the requirements of the business. And I think the one in the middle I really love, the possibilities of technology, because today we are so lucky. We have such amazing possibilities of what we can do with everything. So this is my idea, turn it upside down, and then, you know, when you're looking at technology, this is just my scribble, it might look something like this, where you think about infrastructure that can span across footprints. You have to have intelligent routing as well. Like, you'll have to think about how you route communication between these layers. Think about your application platforms, being able to rapidly deploy your software and your and APIs to make those sovereign services available. And then management and order, you have to be able to have a level of abstraction and visibility. I mean, we've seen many talks today about observability and logging and monitoring, right? That is going to be a major component of however you choose to put in your hybrid cloud. And security underpins the lot. And I would say it should be open. Be standards-based. Otherwise, you know, moving between places, being portable is a lot more difficult if you don't have a standard. So my tips, so keep it open, keep it portable, think about your customers first, take one step at a time. Now be prepared to adapt. What you do first might not be the right thing. You might have to change, yeah? It's not going to be easy. Now the other thing is leverage cost against the long game. That's what you have to tell the people who are giving you the money, right? Because it's always going to cost more at the beginning. It is going to be worth it, and just start. That's kind of one of the most important things. Just do something. Do something great. So thank you. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. Thank you, mercy, grazie, danke, obrigada. I learned a new one today. Spasibo, arigato gozaimasu, jeje, malo, and namaste.